owner of Simco Training, which is a sales training company for the automotive world. After a successful career as a senior manager in the car sales industry, Simon saw a gap in the market for trainers who could bring the real world into training. And that's why in the year 2000, he formed Simco Training. Simon speaks on stages around the world. He has created and developed this unique sales training platform for the auto industry. And recently he's written his first book, Words That Sell Cars. And I've got to admit, Simon is my favourite Australian. And over the years, he's shared some great down under sayings. But perhaps my favourite is, don't pee in my pocket and tell me it's the rainy season. So, Simon, now I've introduced
Debs,
you,
you know that's not actually what I said, but that's probably close enough, isn't it?
It's close enough for today. Simon, talk to us. Tell us what you're working on at the moment. What are you working on?
Hey, listen, first I'm going to say thank you very much for inviting me to come along to this. And Debs, anyone else who knows Debs, she's absolutely brilliant, and she's the person that helps create lots of things. Without Debs, there wouldn't be a book, and there wouldn't be lots of other things that we do. So firstly, thank you very, very much for this. I really do appreciate it. What are we working on? Listen, the world has gone online. We all know what COVID-19's done to our businesses. Lots of coaches, lots of trainers out there. I imagine they're all pivoting. Doesn't that word pivot? I'm sick of that now. Okay, but we're working on selling our online training. And I can tell you, I wish I could tell you I was a genius. And 6 years ago, we developed an online training platform. And that's really helping us at the moment. But there's probably a lot of luck in it. But we're doing a lot of online training in the motor trade. We develop our own learning management system because there just wasn't one out there that would do exactly what we needed. So that's our main focus at the moment. And with books and doing podcasts and stuff like this, Debs.
So tell me about the learning management system, because you could have just put your stuff on someone else's platform. Tell me why you came up with that creation.
Yeah, listen, if people look at these learning management systems, there's hundreds of them out there. There's Kajabi's and copies of Kajabi's, and there's so many different things like that. And I won't knock them, and they're fine. I find for the owner-driver, smaller business, someone is going to pay for the training themselves and will dial in. Now, we train in the motor trade. And I don't want to offend anyone that I've worked with, but sometimes if people sell cars, they go into the motor trade because they can't flip the hamburger right at McDonald's. And we had a system like that where we were asking salespeople to go onto the learning management system, remember a login, do their training, and it just didn't work. So our system, our portal, if you want to call it that, is simplicity in itself. We've kept the training very, very small. Micro learning, I think the experts call it. About 5 to 10 minutes, a video every day. It's not PowerPoint. Most corporate training is boring. People lose the will to live doing it. So there's short videos, because that's how the youth of today learn. I've got a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old. They're on YouTube all the time. The YouTube videos, the ones that get the big hits, they're the short videos there. The other things we do, Debs, is we send this training directly to the people's laptop, desktop, or their mobile phone. So what happens is the learner just gets an email every day for the first 90 days in their business, covering the different things they need to learn. Now, we have 5 key programs. We have our first 90-day program, our sales masterclass for experienced salespeople. We have the dealing with the online inquiry, how to sell cars online, and that's the one that everyone wants in our business at the moment. We've got today's service advisor, and of course the management series. But all of them, we have the same format. We send the video to people every day, so it takes away every excuse. Because it goes straight through that, all they need to do is click play. They listen to it and it's done. And of course, then we have the test. The other thing that some of you guys might learn from this, don't test them every day after every module. We test them every 10 days. to make sure the retention is there. In fact, I remember speaking to one person when I was developing this, and I was saying, I need to make sure that people are watching the video. I need to make sure that the learning is actually taking place so they can actually sell more cars. Then the dealer can make more money, and then we can send an invoice. Now, to me, that was really simple. I had one guy, a leading person that's worked with Anthony Robbins in the business. He's with some big players. And he turned around and said, hey, Simon, don't forget, the vast majority of people who buy the online training courses don't watch it. The vast majority of people who read a book, or sorry, buy the book, don't even read it. And I just remember sitting there thinking, that just can't work.
Yeah.
But that's where our worlds may have been slightly different. We work in a corporate world. So if I'm speaking to Toyota, for example, we're doing training for them. Toyota pays the bill, but actually someone else has to do the training. And if that person who's doing the training doesn't get a result, Toyota's not going to pay the bill. So we needed people to go through all the training. We needed people to read the book. And that's something we learned very early on. We need to take away every single barrier. We need to make it micro learning in small chunks. We test them every 10 days. And then of course, we've got the things the other learning management systems do. The little gotchas, it's all time stamped so we can ensure the person's watched the training. Because that's really what people want. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a place for the Kajabis of the world. But I think it's for someone that I would buy a Kajabi course. But if I paid for the training, I'd make sure I went through it. But if I wanted someone, one of my employees, Penny, to go through some training, okay, if I paid for it, I'd want to make sure Penny got the result that I wanted her to do. And that's why we had to develop our own platform, because you know what? There wasn't one out there that did it. Nothing out there. It was a big old investment. I can remember thinking, why have I done this? It would have been so much easier to use someone else's platform. But thank goodness we have. So now we have white label opportunities. We have other training companies that use our platform now. They put their content onto our platform, and that works well. So that's what we're busy with doing at the moment there.
Well, that sounds like it's going to keep you very, very busy. I want to deconstruct this a little bit, if that's okay.
Go on, of course.
So your integrity in the desire that the Toyotas of this world would get value for the money and obviously pay you because you know you're in business, led you to create something to meet the user, the learner, where they are. So you're not forcing the learner into where you want them to be. You went to where the learner is, micro, in their email box, on their phone, rather than force them to have to come to your platform. So you went to where the learner is and you met them in their space. How did you work that out? Was it a process, or did you just know?
It was trial and error, to be fair. Now, we had a platform to start with. I probably got into video training I'm thinking 15 years ago, Deb. And I didn't have the money to start with to develop one of these platforms myself. And 15 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot of plug and play situations out there, or things that I could have done. And probably thank goodness for that. Otherwise, I would have used someone else's platform. But 15 years ago, there's a person called David Martin running the Marquee Group in America. I was at a conference. He had all this training video content. He had this platform he built himself, which was like a Kajabi of the world where people had to dial into it. I thought, oh, I like the idea of that. It's not in the UK. I didn't have the money. So I'd done a deal with him where I'd start to sell his product into the UK market using his training content until I had enough training content on myself. The big cost in all of this is when you go into a studio to actually make the videos. That's the bit. And I always like to go into a studio, do it as professionally as I can with good green screens. At the moment, I'm in a studio. I think that works a lot better. So what David did is he said, until you have your own content, use some of my content and we'll start building up. And he did a deal which I had to pay 50% of the revenue to him. At the time, it was a great deal because I didn't have to spend all the money on developing this whole platform.
So that allowed you to do some testing. So that's kind of, so you were inspired by somebody else who had gone there before and started leading the way.
Yep. I could put my toe in the water very, very cost effectively. Basically, I want to see, was there a market, was there an appetite for online video learning? And there was. But what that testing showed us was people weren't, by the way, it sold brilliantly because we could reduce the costs. I didn't have to have one of my trainers turn up physically to do all the training. We sold, Debs, I've got to tell you, we sold a lot of that to start with. It was brilliant. But bear in mind, no one else was doing it.
Yeah.
But what I learned very quickly is the salespeople weren't just watching it. They just weren't doing it unless we were on the phone saying, please watch the training, please watch the training, please watch the training. In fact, we were turning up saying, please watch the training. They just weren't doing it. Yeah. And of course, we needed them to get the knowledge so they could actually sell more cars, sell more products, so we could actually remember the person paying the bill, so they'd want to pay us there. So that's where the testing phase started. And whilst I was still using David Martin's platform, and he's still a good friend, we still talk to him today, whilst we were doing that, I was looking at everything else around there, and there just wasn't anything there. So I started to develop this. We've had to find a developer. I don't know if you've ever had to deal with a developer. In fact, I can remember speaking to one lady said that she married 3 software developers and they're all bonkers. They're all mad.
I think that might have been me.
It could have been possibly. But I love them, but they just speak a different language to me. And they talk about metachlorines through flux capacitors and how does this work? I just glaze over. And I went through 2 or 3 different developers until I could find someone.
Me too.
That could actually understand exactly what I wanted. Okay. I just wanted, not a huge portal. I didn't want it to look like Facebook. I just wanted this training video to come through to people's phone. They click play and it happened. When they had to do a test, it went straight through to their phone and it happened. I wanted it so simple. And for some of our clients in the motor trade, there's a company called See It Now. And See It Now is a simple idea where they send a video of the car through to a customer, or a video of the customer's service, what's getting done on their service car through to the customer. And it was so simple because the video just come directly through to the customer's phone with no logins. So I actually developed our platform. It's called the Sales Fitness Platform on the basis of See It Now. We found someone, we tested. It fell over so many different times. I would always recommend finding someone that's not the cheapest out there. We all know this, you get what you pay for. The first one that was nice and cheap, it just didn't work. We found someone else. I had to stretch myself there, but it was worth it to get that robust system that didn't keep falling over. And here's the kicker to this story now. Some people might say, well, hold on, you were doing a deal with David Martin. You developed your own thing. Is he not unhappy with you? No, on the contrary, because he was having the same issue. He now in the States has our same platform. He calls it the boot camp, and he actually now delivers the training in exactly the same way as we do. So we've helped each other out there because we found the problem. We looked for the solution, and we finally got the final solution there.
Some of the things that you're bringing out here are fantastic. Like, one of the things I want to come back to is simple. I think lots of people, when they're creating something, imagine a very complex, huge, gigantic thing and dive in trying to create this complex system. But you looked for where the problem was, where the pain was, and then created something simple to solve that to solve their problem. Yeah, it
has to be. Debs, it's got to be simple because, you know, I started washing cars for a living. In fact, my biggest word is corrugated iron. That's why I needed you help to write my book, because I'm half illiterate. But actually, corrugated iron, that's a big word. Count up all the syllables in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it had to be simple because otherwise it just wouldn't get used. And any training, if it's the best training idea in the world, if it's not used, it's actually pointless. And I see so many of these entrepreneurs out there, these education people out there that are selling these online programs, but actually people aren't going through all the training.
Yeah.
If they're not going through the training, sure, you might get the training junkies that go from training course to training course to training course, and I'm sure there's lots of people out there.
Yeah.
But don't we need to actually give the solution to the problem?
Yeah.
The reason why I keep coming back and working with you, Debs, is because I tried and tried for 6 years to write a book. I just couldn't do it. I tried everything. I keep coming back to you because you took me by the scruff of the neck and beat me up until we got this book written. And that's because it's that simple approach. And the other thing, if I can share this with some of your audience, we talk about goal setting. And I had this conversation with Debs and we talked about this book, and honestly, it was 5 or 6 years. I had this thing written and then rewritten and then rewritten. Okay. It kept on changing. The name of it changed 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
I thought I wrote the wrong book at some point. And Debs, I don't know if you remember this conversation, but you said to me, you don't have a goal. I can remember thinking, fuck off. I train goal setting for a reason, for a living. I know goals. I know exactly what it is. And you beat me up. You said, you've got an outcome goal, haven't you? Not a process goal. I can remember thinking, a what? Yeah, you've got an outcome goal. You can see the book written. You can see it on the shelves. Okay. You can see it in the dealerships, but you've not broken it down. I thought, uh-oh, she's got me here. Do you know what? I'm one of these numpties that I had a picture of my book in W.H. Smith's so I could visualize it was completed. What a load of crap that is, okay? Until you just turned around and said, and I've never shared this with you, you said, right, how long is this book going to be? You said 30,000 words. I said, that's crap. It needs to be 60,000 words. So we actually broke it down. Listen, it's 60,000 words. You need to write this 12 months. You want the book to come out. So listen, let's do this in 6 months. That's 10,000 words you need to write every month. But actually, that's 2,500 words I need to write every week. Actually, that's 5,000 words. No, 500. Give me a calculator. That's 500 words I have to write every day. And by the way, forgive my language, okay? I hope I don't offend people, but in my family, my book's called Words That Sell Cars. But in my family, it had another name. It was called That Fucking Book, okay? Because I hated that thing.
I think there are a few of those around at the moment.
Oh, good. But I knew, Debs, I had to write 500 words every working day. I knew I didn't have time to do that. I was so busy. So I set my alarm 1 hour earlier. I got to Acosta Coffee before I went in to do my training in that dealership. And I wrote 500 words every day. Now, I'd love to tell you I did it every day. It didn't. Some days I missed it. I can remember once I missed it for the whole week. But then Saturday morning, I had to write 2,500 words. And you know what? I learned never do that again, because that Saturday, I didn't finish until about 10:30 at night. Oh, and by the way, I'm half illiterate. So writing those words was me speaking into my phone. And it wasn't 500 every day, obviously. Some days were more, some days were less. We had the plan of the book. When I started writing, I didn't have the plan. Okay, I want to write a book. Let's just do what I do on training courses. This will be easy. Okay, but we put it into that plan that you wrote for me, Debs. Okay, and then I just had to fill in the boxes on that plan. But here's the funny thing. I said to myself, 6 months to write the book, and I want it to be 60,000 words. And this is the bit that, oh, someone wants to speak to us. Let me get rid of that. But this is a bit that I never told you, Debs. Okay, the final version, this is before editing, and this is before Lucy got hold of it and cut the guts out of it. Yeah. But on the final editing, it was 59,450 words. And I finished it on the 10th of June. And what that taught me is goal setting. It's not an outcome goal. It's the process goal. I mean, sure, that might be a coincidence, but it's when you broke it down into those small chunks. I'm not telling anyone they don't know. How do you eat an elephant? We all know this.
Yeah.
Break it down into small chunks,
Yeah.
and have a process goal, not an outcome goal. That was one of the best things I learned.
And I think this really fits in beautifully at the moment with my new way of thinking about this. We kind of live in a chaotic world, and we have lots of chaos going in our heads. And our goal is to create things like a book or a course or a platform. And that there is a gap between the chaos of our thinking and the creation at the end of it. And I think that bit in the middle is constraints. So I constrained your creativity, your chaos, your ideas. I constrained them and told you, okay, let's do this. What's your outcome goal? What do you want the creation to be like? But these are the constraints that we have to work in. Now, I want to talk to you about constraints, because I think constraints, and I love constraints, and that's got nothing to do with my 3 ex-husbands or but constraints for me are the only way I can work. If I don't have a constraint, I don't create output. So I want to talk to you about constraints, because you are quite prolific in the videos that you create for your training course. You're quite prolific, but do you have a process for constraining? But you're also you talk about small chunks, micro learning, and simple. So how do you constrain all the things you want to tell somebody in a video to the smallest possible unit that's valuable to them?
Yeah, I still wish I knew that one. I'm still trying to learn that all the time. And that's why it took me so long to write the book, because I didn't have those constraints. I didn't have any accountability where it had to be done. So what I did is I kept on going off into different areas. I remember starting thinking, do I have enough ideas for a book? And then I realized, well, hold on, I've got too many books in my head. And what you kept on saying is, no, get it back to, and we started talking about first book, second book, third book. And you put the constraints around, no, because look at this book, is 60,000 words. In a business book, that's probably too big, what a lot of people would say. But that's part of, because I always struggled with those constraints. Same as when I do the video work, I have a structure of things I want to cover. Some people work really, really well with doing a teleprompter or something like that. I just can't do that, again, because I can hardly read. I write 3 or 4 points down that I know I want to cover, and I just imagine my audience is in that little camera there, and I'm just speaking to that one salesperson. Even though I know it's going out to 13,000 people, I picture that one person that I'm trying to help on this one thing. Then I have my sales director. So many times I cut, you're at 18 minutes now. And I'll go, oh crap, what can we cut out of that? I need him there, because if he didn't tell me that, I'd let a few 18-minute ones go out, because I'd say, no, but it's good stuff, I can't cut it out. I need someone else to give me that constraint. Same as deadlines. I need someone else to give me a deadline. I'm just really bad with that. I need that accountability. And I think what's really helped me with the video programs, the podcasts, the book is I started telling people the book's coming out. And it's a trick that I probably play on my own mind. When I told people it's coming out, in fact, I had an ex-business partner that I wasn't very happy with. I made sure he knew I had a book coming out, because then I had to bloody do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Listen to some of these other podcasts that you're doing in the series, Debs. I'm sure other people will talk about the same thing. They need the reason why they got to bloody do it. I think we do as humans, don't we?
Absolutely. And I think I think accountability is one of the strongest constraints we can set. And I want to know, I'm going to ask you another question on that constraint that you set yourself, which was telling this guy who that you were going to be doing it. Yeah. Was that a push constraint or a pull constraint? So were you doing it to satisfy yourself, or
great question,
to avoid danger?
Good question. I don't really know, because I know I was making a rod for my own back, but bear in mind, 6 years I tried to get this book done. I needed to get it done there.
Yeah.
I had you beat me up, which was good. But again, when you're paying someone to beat you up, they're always going to beat you up in a nice way. Okay. I needed some other internal beat up. And this guy, it was good because I needed to make sure I get it before he did it.
Yeah.
Okay. I needed to make sure it was out there before he did. That really gave me that push. The other constraint is, I don't know, is it constraint, Debs, or is it the accountability? This 500 a day, I really beat myself up lots over that. If I didn't do that, and I didn't want to do it so many times. But
I called you in Starbucks quite frequently to check up on you.
Yeah, it was Starbucks or Costa Coffee, actually. It was normally
Costa,
a Costa.
sorry.
Yeah, it should have been sponsored by Costa. But that day that any of the parents out there, when I had to work all day Saturday, I didn't finish it till 10:30. I had Sean come in and saying, "Dad, are we playing football? Dad, are we going for a ride?" And I was like, "No, I just got to do this flipping book." Okay. You know, next time I didn't want to do it in that Costa Coffee. You know, that thought process there. It's the pleasure and pain, isn't it?
Yeah.
I had to beat myself up to get this completed. That's what worked for me. I'm sure everyone's slightly different there. And then sometimes when I thought I've got no idea what I had to do, just by sitting there and forcing myself to do something, sometimes that inspiration come.
Yeah. Bum in the seat. Once the bum's in the seat, you've got to do something.
Yep. And I remember sitting there thinking, I've got nothing today. I've got nothing. And many times if I had nothing, that's where I would then not do it. But then when I forced myself to sit there, that Saturday, that 10:30 at night, it happened because that week I had nothing. I had absolutely nothing of what I was going to do. Okay. And I don't know if any of your clients got this, but I got this bit that I find it hard to admit to my own clients, because we all need to be confident and can we do it? But deep down inside, I've got this shit. Am I really good enough? Can I actually write a book? Who the hell do I think I am? Because I would read all these Anthony Robbins books and all these other books and these geniuses there. I remember thinking, can I really do this? And this is the daft thing. I would go on stage, okay? I'd had feedback that it was the best conference people had been on. It's the best idea ever. But I had one little comment, people would say, "Yeah, I've heard that before."
Yeah.
And I'd beat myself up over that. And then when I'm going to write this book, you know, I see all of these geniuses that are writing these books. I remember thinking, oh, am I really good enough? Can I do that? Deep down inside, when I put my head on the pillow at night, I had that little bit where I'm thinking, who are you kidding?
Yeah.
Who do you think you are? Now, listen, I tell you how silly that is. Since the lockdown, we've sent out 13,482 training modules to people. We're doing a lot of training there. And I don't say that to be arrogant, and I hope it doesn't come across that way or to brag any way, shape, or form. But just let you know that we've clearly got so many people like what we do and how we do it. But I still sit there thinking, shit, am I really good enough? And that's what stopped me so many times. That when I sat down there, I forced myself to have to write something. And back to that Saturday again. I keep coming back to that. I sat there for probably about, I don't know, must have been 2.5, 3 hours. I got sucked into all the procrastination stuff. If anyone's heard the Tim Urban videos where he procrastinates,
Tim Urban is fantastic.
That was me.
Yeah.
That was me. I was going online and having a look at Anthony Robbins. I'm going to be the next Anthony Robbins of the motor trade, and thinking, shit, he's good. I can't do all that. But about 2.5 hours into it, I put it all aside and I just started typing this time. Okay. Actually, no, I didn't. I used a pen. I just started scribbling. And then I thought, I've got it. And then I got my phone. And then that's when I got to 10:30 at night, because I was actually on a roll. And if I look back to that completed book, Debs, that section that I did like that, that was the 4 fundamentals. And it's the 4 fundamentals are the bits. I'm glad you're laughing there. Are you laughing because you thought it shite?
No, because it's the best bit.
Well, it's the 4 fundamentals. It's the 4 fundamentals that I get from so many, not just in the motor trade, in selling in general, people saying you've hit the nail on the head. It's those 4 fundamentals is covering everything. And that was that Saturday, the whole basis of those 4 fundamentals I come up with.
Tell us the 4 fundamentals.
Okay, 4 fundamentals of buying anything is, these fundamentals have to be satisfied for people to make a decision. So in a nutshell, it's comparison. People who feel like they got a good deal, they need to compare it to something else. There's value. They need to see value. And there's a set of value scales where one side we've got the product service, the other side we've got the amount of money. Now, value is always a moving feast. Okay, a Louis Vuitton bag, this big heavy thing that people spend £9,500 on, might have lots and lots of value to some people. However, after they've loaded onto the plane crashed, okay, they have to get into a life raft. What's more valuable now, that Louis Vuitton or that life raft? Value changes all the time. That's why we have a set of value scales. Next one is scarcity. So if something's scarce, like a diamond, okay, the value tends to go up. But scarcity, is it always scarce? Can we create scarcity? Because actually our diamonds are scarce as we're led to believe. And of course, the last one is urgency. Okay, now listen, that's in a nutshell. As I told you, it took me to 10:30 at night to write all of those. But when you look at why anyone buys anything, buying and selling training courses, buying, selling a keynote speaker, buying or selling a car. If you haven't sold something, you come back to it, it's one of those 4 fundamentals that you've missed. Okay. My business is built on those 4 fundamentals. And I was, my struggle with this is I'm thinking, hold on, is that too complex just for the car salesperson? Is it? Maybe for some. Okay, but it's those 4 fundamentals and how we flesh it out in the book, that's the bit that now is getting me into other sales industries. Now I'm getting people saying, can you just talk about those 4 fundamentals for our business-to-business selling? But I suppose the point in creating something, Debs, it was forcing me to sit down and do it. And knowing I'd have to put up with you saying, are you there yet? What have you done yet?
But I think it's brilliant because you've actually identified a couple of other things here. So I'm going to deconstruct you again.
Go on.
4 fundamentals, you named it, the 4 fundamentals. You named your IP. So then other people now, when they talk about it, they can name it and they can request it and they can say, actually, how does this apply here? How does this apply here? So you created intellectual property that you can now create more things from, which brings us back around in my crazy loop of chaos, constraint, creation. And naming something is a constraint. You constrain it to within that name. So what has naming it for you created for you? Does it, I mean, because one of the things it created is it changes the way other people can buy you.
Wow, that's a great question. I've never even thought that we've got another IP that we can sell there. I've really not even thought about it that way. But I suppose we have. And it's quite interesting. It's maybe speaking to a musician. What comes first, the music or the words?
Yeah.
I've always struggled with the name until it was written. I mean, the book, to be fair, the book, I had the name for 6 years, but it's not the name that it ended up being. There's a guy called Joe. I don't know if you know him from Rethink Press.
Yeah.
Really, really good guy. He turned around and changed the name, Words That Sell Cars. And he had a great idea that this could be just the Words That Sell series. So it could be the words that sell real estate, the words that sell B2B, the words that sell. So that's the series that we're going to do. And the generic book will be Words That Sell. But that come after the initial name. But to think it through, Debs, the name was just going to be, it was all about, I can't remember the original name, but it was Words That Work, selling cars. That's what it was going to be, Words That Work in selling cars. So I had that to work for. Name, I'm just not sure. Does the name come first? I think the name comes after writing it for me. Maybe everyone's different.
Lots of people find that. So when I deal with clients, what we find is that they are doing things naturally. So they are delivering training, or they're a mentor, or they're a coach, or they're doing it naturally, and they help people make transformations naturally. And they don't necessarily realize the massive value that they realize the value, but they don't realize how they're doing that value. And so when we deconstruct what they're doing in this chaos bit, we can sometimes find, like, your 4 fundamentals. What are the 4 things that you do? And if you do these things, it always works. What are the 3 steps that you have to take? And if you do these 3 steps in this order, it always works. And then you can, from that chaos, you can create your IP. And IP is the value that you have in the business, the value that's there when you're not there. IP, or intellectual perspective, I've started calling it now. IP is the way that you see the world that's different to everybody else, and that's your special way of thinking about things.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, very good.
Okay, I have another question for you. I'm going to start leading us to a sort of a conclusions now.
Okay.
I've heard on the grapevine that you, and seen some lovely photos of your gorgeous son, that you and your son fly planes. Tell me, I want to know about this plane that you and your son fly, and your 17-year-old son flying.
Yeah, listen, this is very proud dad speaking at the moment. My little boy, on his 16th birthday, he went solo in a plane. So to people who don't fly or whatever, that means he jumps in the plane, no instructor, taxis out. Emma, my wife, and I, and my younger son Sean, we're sitting there watching him. He's just flying off, and it's a scary thing to see your 16-year-old boy out there. You know, your pride and joy up there in the air. I mean, he could have broken the propeller, he could have broken the landing gear, or something like that. It was a horrendous day. Okay, sorry, that was a joke. But it was very, very proud. On his 17th birthday, he's got his full pilot's license now. And it's still, he can't drive a car yet. Well, legally, he has no license, but he can jump in a plane and fly to Europe and, well, when COVID-19 stops. So it seems mad he can do that. And flying's one of the things I've done for, I don't know, 17, 18 years now. And it's, Debs, it's one of the few things that it helps me relax because I can't think about work. I'm one of these people business owner that I'm always working. If I'm on a beach in Spain, my mind's thinking about work. I just find it hard to switch off. But flying a plane is nice because you can't not think about it. Yeah. But here's something I don't know if I've ever told you. If we're talking about creating things, and you're going to think I'm completely mad now, but that plane, Debs, I stuck together myself in my garage. I built that over 3 years.
You made your own plane and then sent your 16-year-old son in it on his own.
Yeah, I know that sounds completely mad, doesn't it? Okay, now maybe not as mad. It comes in a kit. Okay, it was 3 years of my life. Okay, on weekends, sticking it together in my garage. I have photos. I'll send it through to you. You'll have a good old laugh at it as it turns up in the box. Okay, and I stuck it all together. But it might not be as mad as you think. In the UK and around the world, there's different associations that do this, and it happens more than you think. And there's an association called the Light Aircraft Association. Now, when you're building it, the authorities don't just let you build a plane and go off and fly it and see if it works, okay? It has to be approved beforehand. It's an approved kit. You have to have an approved inspector. And I think it was something like 60 times. Dave Garney was my inspector. He had to turn up to make sure that I built it right. When it was completed, I had to get a test pilot to fly it for the first 5 hours. Okay, now
how much did you have to pay that test pilot?
he has balls of steel. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, again, I could have done the test flying myself, but I elected to get someone who knew the type to do it. Now, again, he tested everything. Sometimes if you have a composite part, my aircraft's made out of composite. It's a mix between fiberglass and so forth. You have aluminium ones. But sometimes when you build something, they ask you to build 2 of them so you can come along and break the one you're not going to use to make sure it's at the right breaking strain. These are all the things they do to test to make sure that it's strong enough, it's all approved. But I suppose you're talking about creation. That's not that dissimilar, I suppose, to the online training program we developed. We knew what the whole vision was at the end. That's pretty straightforward. There was 2 big manuals of things I had to build. I had an outside influence, an inspector that I was paying for, and I knew that he was turning up on a certain date. So I had to make sure the undercarriage was on by this bit. I had to make sure that, I don't know, the empennage was completed by this bit because I knew he was coming along to inspect it. It was all broken down into small chunks there. I had money constraints. That was built, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago, something like that. So I had to sell more training courses to buy the engine. Okay, I then had to buy the avionics after that. Then had to pay for the full painting of it. I cheated that. I didn't paint it. I got an expert to do that. I suppose it's very similar to what you're talking about.
It's a brilliant metaphor. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, and it's the pride when you have that book that you've developed. You've got that online program where, 13,000 sessions we sent out since the lockdown. Lockdown, what do we call it? Lock-in's a pub,
Lock-in is when you get to drink a lot.
Yeah,
It's
well,
the
I've done
same.
plenty of that. Done plenty of that. But flying a plane and allowing your son. In fact, I've got one photo when it turned up. It must be older than that, where James is actually on Emma's hip, where the whole box has been delivered. She's looking at me like, what has he done now? Okay, my long-suffering wife. And she was still on his hip, so he must have been, I don't know, 18 months old or maybe younger than that. And now that same plane they built all those years ago, he goes off and flies solo in it and did all these lessons in it. It was a very, very proud dad. And talking about creating, taking chaos and creating something. I want to build another one, but we can't talk too loudly because my wife might hear this. And,
Emma!
No, don't be doing that. Don't be doing that. I'll be in a lot of trouble there.
Yeah.
I need to, do some other things first.
Fantastic. Okay, right, let's wrap it up there, Simon. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to tell me?
No, I think we've covered lots there. We said it was going to be half an hour, but I've rambled on maybe a little bit more than that. Sorry about that. Listen, I just hope you guys that listen to this get some ideas from it. I'm not perfect at all. So many different things I wish I'd done differently. Learn from my mistakes, as I say. If anyone wants to look at our online training platform, Sales Fitness, get in contact with Debs. Look for me. It's nice and easy to find me. LinkedIn is where we do everything. I'm Simon Bowkett on LinkedIn. Just have a look at there, or go and find the Words That Sell Cars if you need to get hold of us. Have a look at our online programs. And if I can help with anything, get in touch.
Fantastic. And I'll put all the links below in the comments so that everybody can get in touch with you. Simon, thank you. And you've demonstrated yet again that you are my favourite Australian in the world. Thank you very much.
I'm the only Australian you know, surely.
Ciao.
Good to speak to you again. Bye.
Bye.